So, welcome everybody. My name is Sprinkles, and I my relationship to cancer was actually as a caregiver. And through that, I then found yoga therapy, started teaching yoga in general, and volunteered at a first ascents trip in Estes Park. And that was back in 2018. It was rock climbing. And so ever since then, I have taught yoga and mindfulness for first ascents at programs and now some online courses. We're actually in the process of creating a whole resource channel through YouTube. And so there will be meditations, mindful moments, these Mindfulness Monday classes, as well as some mindful movement classes so that you can tune into on your own time. It's really nice, though, to connect as a community. So thank you so much for being here tonight. The first two classes revolved around mindfulness of body in the first one. And then last time we talked about mindfulness of breathing. Today is going to be more mindfulness practices, talking about like what's going on in our mind. And so will be leading us into some meditations, and also that will be also through some mindful movements. So what is mindfulness? I kind of talk about this each week. Mindfulness is simply paying attention in the present moment on purpose. And it's important to keep an open mind and to be in acceptance of whatever comes up. So when we're mindful and we notice, oh, this is how I'm feeling right now, or this is what's going on in my body, even if it's not what you would prefer, just being open to that, and then no judgment or criticism necessary. And why is this important? So when we feel present, we don't tend to feel anxiety or depression, because those are emotions that we feel like in the past or in the future. But when we're present, we're focused on the here and the now. And when we know how we feel, we can learn how to then move on and deal with those things that are coming up for us. And the cool thing that you do when you're on an FD program is you're on an adventure, and it naturally keeps you really present because of being in nature. You're focused on what you're doing, whether you're surfing or kayaking or rock climbing. Even if you notice you go out on your own adventures at home and you're on a hike, it's really easy to be in the present moment when you have beauty around you and you're doing something that's fun. The difference, though, is sometimes when we're in life, how do we then cultivate mindfulness and practice that? So that's what we're going to do this evening. Yoga is simply a way to practice mindfulness, and meditation is doing yoga. You don't even have to strike a pose or do anything fancy in order to be doing yoga, because there's actually 8 limbs of it. Meditation, the cool thing about it is it covers a few of those different branches. So we're concentrating, we're drawing inward, and then we're doing the practice of meditation. Some of the other limbs are doing our breathing exercises, which we learned in our last class, some of our yoga postures. Also, it's just how you live your life. So ultimately, connecting as a community is also a form of yoga. So these are simply tools to put in our toolbox. So tonight we're going to move forward and into like, how do we meditate? Go ahead and get comfortable. We're going to need a blanket or a towel, doesn't have to be a big one, and also maybe a pillow. If you have yoga blocks, you may want to grab them, but no need for those. And then if you are comfortable sitting on the floor, then you can sit on the floor for this first part, but you also don't have to. You can sit in a chair. And sometimes I recommend that when we're going to start with a meditation, because sometimes sitting cross-legged is not that comfortable. If you are cross-legged, I like to put a pillow underneath my sit bones and cross my legs so that my hips are a little bit above my knees. If you're in a chair, you can just sit with your feet flat on the floor and your spine nice and straight. And so the first thing to think about when you're about to start to meditate is I like to think of these 6 S's. First, you start by stacking your sit bones, and then your spine, and then your shoulders. So you're moving on up. And then slide the chin back so that your head is right above the shoulders. And then you might feel that you're a little rigid, so soften the body. So when you think of those 6 S's, it gets you into a nice position. So you have a nice strong spine. You can sit against a wall as well. No need to be sitting in the middle of the room. You just want to be nice and comfortable so that your body isn't talking to you while we're trying to get into the moment. And then we'll start to draw a little bit more inward. And so whatever's comfortable here, you can either close your eyes, or you may want to just find a soft gaze. Fix your gaze on one point in front of you or on the floor. Then we start to concentrate. So you start to move in towards, I like to refer to it as an inner landscape. Then you start to draw your attention inward versus focused on the external noise. And go ahead and think about what's going on in your body right now. Notice where you're feeling sensations. Maybe where you're feeling some tension. And can you soften just a little bit more? And just think about, how is your body showing up right now? How does it feel to you? After checking in with that more physical layer, we're going to draw inward towards the breath. It's more energetic. So feeling your breath streaming in and out. Just notice if you're breathing in through your nose or through your mouth naturally. Is your breath feeling like it's moving pretty fluidly, or perhaps it feels a little choppy or shallow? Do you notice your breath moving in through your whole torso, or maybe it's just parts of it, like maybe you're breathing into your belly or into your chest? And when you have that awareness, the breath is actually a good indicator of how we're feeling. So we can make the breath a little bit longer, deepening the inhales as we breathe in and the exhales. Trying to make more of an equal exchange of breathing in and then out. You may even decide to make your breath a little more audible so you can hear it. Sometimes it feels good to breathe in through the nose and out through pursed lips. That naturally usually lengthens the exhale, which helps to balance the nervous system. And then see if you can smooth your breath out a little bit. So you may envision that the breath is flowing like a river or a stream, nice and gently. In through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. And as you're breathing, can you soften your jaw a little bit? We tend to hold a lot of tension here, so just allowing yourself to soften your body, soften your jaw as you exhale. So now we'll start to notice what's going on in the mind space. And you may have thoughts popping in and out by now. It's normal to get a little restless when we turn inward and slow down and practice the pause. We're so used to being busy and doing things. Our body's usually in movement. And when we slow the body down, then the thoughts start to come online. And just notice, are the thoughts helpful that are popping in and out of your mind? Do you feel as though they're more worried thoughts, or are they nurturing? Do you feel distracted, or do you feel present, as though you're focused on this meditation and what we're doing? Again, no judgment either way. It's just noticing. The mind tends to run away and we tend to follow it sometimes. So this is when we come back to what we call an anchor. This is another basic meditation strategy, is coming back to something that will keep you in this moment. Maybe it's feeling the sensations of your body like we did in the beginning, or maybe it's coming back to your breathing, focusing on making the breath longer and smoother, making your inhales and exhales more equal in length. Because although the mind likes to talk to us a lot, give us a lot of thoughts to think about, it's not that complicated. We start focusing on something else, such as our breathing, and we naturally forget about whatever we were just thinking. And so when we start to remove the thoughts, we become drawn more inward, then we can feel into our heart space. We can feel into like what we really want. Maybe it's the intuition. Maybe it's just generally understanding what your true nature is without all of the chaos going on around. Maybe it's a sense of peace or calm or joy. From this space, I like to set an intention. So an intention for your practice, or an intention that you can keep with you even. And sometimes that's simply just to stay present. Maybe it's to be mindful, which is kind of one and the same. Maybe it's to feel a sense of peace or calm. Maybe it's to love more unconditionally. So this is all something that's authentic to you, that comes into your heart space in this moment, that you want to cultivate or continue to work on in your life. And then taking some deep breaths in and out, you'll say that intention to yourself. And I like to put it in the present tense. So let's say if I want to feel more at peace, I say, I am peace, or I feel peace, or I feel presence. Just breathing in and out. So then this becomes an affirmation, or in yoga, we call it a mantra, something that we repeat over and over again. And the sciencey way of looking at it is that it helps to pave new neural pathways in the brain. So if you naturally feel worried, and then you set an intention to feel more present or more calm, you start to draw attention towards the thing you're trying to attract, rather than letting the mind continue to worry. I like to think of that as like if you're on a hike and you're bushwhacking through the woods, might feel a little difficult at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets and that path becomes more clear. And so then these affirmations and this mantra becomes an anchor as well. So anytime you're meditating, you can turn to, how am I feeling in my body, those sensations. You could turn to your breath, or you could turn to an affirmation or a mantra. And that will naturally bring you into the present moment and override the thoughts that keep going in and out of your mind. And we'll start to blink open the eyes whenever you feel ready and just notice how you feel in this moment. So after going through that mindful check-in, it was about a 10-minute meditation, so it took a little while. We're going to start to move into the mindful movement part of class. And so I like to think of movement as meditation as well. And we'll end with a shavasana or resting pose. And it's going to be more of a visualization, deep relaxation exercise towards the end. So we'll close with another meditation. So if you are seated, you can stay there, maybe crisscross your legs the opposite direction, or if you're in a chair, you can even stay there for just a moment. We're going to start by breathing in and moving your chest forward. And then as you breathe out, round to the left and back. And then inhale, coming forward again. So we're going to make these big rolls of our torso. Starting to get into our side bodies. As you come forward, you may even squeeze your shoulders back a bit. And you can make these as big or as small as you'd like. And we'll switch directions next time we come around to the front. So take an inhale. And then exhale as you roll back and around. Job. Just feeling into your body because you know it best. We're just kind of waking up the muscles slowly. Then we'll start to move to hands and knees from here. And if you have wood floors at home, I like to take a blanket and put it under my knees. We'll use it for different things in class. So this is one way, you don't have to though. But we'll stack shoulders over wrists and hips over knees. We'll start with some cat-cows. So feel the roots first. Being mindful in poses is paying attention to everything. So rather than just maybe going through the motions of, oh yeah, I'm doing some cat-cows, we're going to really think about our hands touching the ground, our feet touching the ground. Is it more comfortable for your toes to be flat, or do you want to tuck them for more stability? Knees are going to be about hip width distance apart. So thinking about the alignment is what brings you into the presence. It's really less about what you're doing with your body, less about the shapes that you're putting yourself into, and more about just staying present with the pose and your breath. And so once you're in alignment, we'll start to inhale, drop the belly, bring your gaze forward, squeeze the shoulder blades back together. So you're getting a nice stretch in the belly. Tailbone lifts. Exhale, really press into your hands, drop your chin to chest and round your spine. So that was nice and slow. We'll do that a few more times, and you may move a little bit faster, but inhaling, coming into more of this cow pose. Exhaling, curling into cat. You may decide to even drop the head and neck a little and shake it out. And as you move very mindfully with your breath, inhaling and exhaling, always through the nose when we're doing yoga. You may decide you want to integrate some organic movements, and this is where you start to kind of choose your own adventure. Maybe circle your hips, circle your head and neck. And start to do what feels good. Maybe you drop into one hip and stretch into the outer hip. Come forward, go into the other hip. Maybe you decide you want to find some fluid movement. So the way to do this cat-cow fluidly is you inhale, drop the belly as well as the hips. And then as you exhale, you round the spine, tucking chin to chest. And so you start to become very like a little rolling wave, very fluid on your mat. And so taking just another moment to move however feels good. And we'll start to come back to hands and knees, tabletop position. Take a moment to even yourself out. From here, start to walk your fingertips forward. And I like to keep my fingertips kind of perched up like a tent here, but you may want to keep your palms flat. So you choose. We're going to inhale, round the spine, tuck chin to chest. Exhale, melt your head towards the mat. Now, your forehead may hover here. You may be able to place your forehead down and rock it side to side. You also may take that pillow that you have and place it under. So pillow or a block, something that feels good underneath and gives you a little bit more stability. And so my hips are going to be above my knees. And you're working on rinsing the shoulders. So you're going to breathe in and out a few times here. And it may feel good to hold this pose still, or you may decide to inhale, round, exhale, come back down. So again, choosing whether you like the static or the dynamic movement of a pose, what feels good in your body. But you're opening your shoulders, opening the chest. You can also do this pose against a wall. If you get a little lightheaded, you could just come over to a wall, and then you're not dealing with the inversion as much. You're just pulsing, pressing the palms into the wall. All right. Now from the puppy pose, you have an option to either come into a child's pose, so knees will come a little bit wide, or you can keep them together, gives you more support, arms out long. Or you can come into a downward facing dog. So this is where you're going to choose, do you want to work on something that's strengthening? And this doesn't mean, oh, I can do downward facing dog, so I'm going to definitely do it. Maybe you feel like taking child's pose because you want to do something more grounded right now. Downward facing dogs, I like to make sure I'm rooting into my hands, pressing pinky all the way over to my thumbs, really pressing into the pointer fingers, getting my roots set. Then I lift my knees, tip the sit bones up to the sky, and then start to press my hands down. Allow my head to dangle between my arms. And my knees are bent to start. And I'm going to start to then pedal my feet out. So I'm going to bend my right knee, straighten my left leg. And then bend my left knee, straighten my right leg. I'm moving with my breath here. So inhale, bend my right knee. Exhale, straighten the left leg. So nice and smooth. And then you may even decide to press both heels down. But if you start to straighten your legs and you round forward, then it may make sense to keep the knees bent. Do you want to go for that shoulder extension? Good job. Make sure that you're breathing in and out, nice and smooth here. You may even want to breathe out through your mouth a few times. Letting out some tension. And so whatever pose you're in right now, you're going to take a nice, slow, mindful walk to the top of the mat. So I'm going to take a few steps here. and start to root into the feet and roll up to standing. And from here, we're going to bring our feet hip width distance apart or even a little bit wider. So I have, see like more of a triangle base. We're going to come into mountain pose. So pressing into the outer edges of the feet, lifting up through the arches, maybe rocking forward and back a few times, finding your sense of center. And this is one of our FD mindful moments. It's called Mindful Mountain. I'm going to take you into, and it gets your body into alignment. So often we're walking around in life and maybe our shoulders are hunched, maybe we're, not fully standing tall. And so we're going to start to root down into our feet and then stack your ankles right above your feet. On your next inhale, draw it from your feet up to your knees. And then exhale from your knees down to your heels. So then you stack your knees right above the ankles. And then inhale from your feet up to your hips. And exhale from your hips down to your heels, feeling them pressing down. Stack your hips right above your knees. So you may have noticed that just those little stacks brings you into these little movements. And notice the more stability that you feel in the lower half of your body. And this is mindfulness. It's noticing these little tiny things, being present. And we'll start to breathe in from the feet all the way up to the shoulders. Maybe shrug them up, let them fall down your back. Stack your shoulders above your hips. And then we'll inhale from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head, reaching tall. Slide the chin back like we did earlier in our meditation. Stack your head right above your shoulders. Your breath goes back down to your feet. Just take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your body now. You've taken just a few moments to stack it mindfully. And from this stable mountain, when you're feeling present and mindful, and you're in your body and connected, then it's like you're in like the mountain that's in the midst of a storm and it's unwavering. You're standing strong, feeling your sense of rooting and grounding. So we'll inhale from the feet up to the crown of the head. Exhale back down to your feet. And stay with your breath here, inhaling feet to the sky. Then exhaling to your feet. Next time you inhale, just say, I am to yourself. Exhale, grounded. Inhale, I am. Exhale, present. And then the next one, fill in the blank with your own affirmation. So maybe it's the one that you said earlier to yourself in meditation. Or maybe it's a different one that you're wanting to bring into the rest of this time together. And we'll blink open the eyes. From this point of stability, we'll inhale, sweep the arms wide and up, palms touch. Exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to move through a few sun salutations. Inhale, reaching tall. And then exhale, I like to take a swan dive as I forward fold. So arms are wide, hands come either to dangle or to touch. Inhale, halfway lift, so lengthen your spine, reach to the crown of your head to a flat back. Exhale, release to a forward fold. Root into your feet and slow rise to standing. Arms sweep overhead, palms touch, maybe even smile. Exhale, hands to your heart center. Take a moment to pause here. And we'll do another round. So we're connecting one breath with each movement. You may notice that your heart rate starts to increase. And try to stay with it. As we breathe and move together, then we tend to forget a lot about the thoughts that are going through our head. So root into your feet. On your next inhale, arms sweep wide and up, palms touch. And exhale, hands pull down to your heart. Again, inhaling, reach tall. And this time, swan dive, forward fold. Release the head and neck. Inhale, slide your hands up your shins or to your thighs to lengthen your back. Exhale to release. Root down and slow rise to standing as you inhale. Arms sweep overhead. Palms touch and smile, and then exhale, pull your palms to your heart. Nice work. So just notice how that felt. We're going to move into some postures now where we're going to hold them a little bit longer. So rather than breathing and moving with each breathing every time we move, we're going to hold a posture longer. So at the top of your mat, you're going to start with your right foot planted. And if you have blocks or something, you may want to use them. You don't have to have them. But we're going to root into the right foot and lift the left foot up behind. Now, if this isn't stable for you and you don't have blocks or it's hard to touch the ground, you can actually do this kneeling and balance like this. So on the knees, kicking into the left heel. And so you're going to find what works for you here. It's not always about doing what's hardest. This is called warrior 3 pose. So you're lengthening through the crown of your head as you kick back into your back foot, as though you're pressing it against a wall. And from here, we're going to slow step back, bring that foot down, and turn it to a 45-degree angle as you rise up. So my foot is sort of pointing to my side wall, not totally out to the side, but at that 45-degree angle. I'm going to use that foot like a brake and then press into it so I can bring my right knee forward. So this is going to be our warrior 1 pose. As we press down, arms start to lift up. And you're pressing into both feet equally and starting to move that left hip slightly forward, trying to not square it off, but turn just enough that it feels a little awkward, and arms float up overhead. Reaching up through the fingertips as you inhale, as you exhale, pushing into your feet and bending that front knee. Slow breathing here, and notice how you're feeling. So as we hold a pose a little longer, the mind starts to come in. Might tell you this hurts or this doesn't feel good. It might say, when are we going to be done with this pose, right? So this is where we bring attention back to the breath, back to the roots, and even back to that affirmation that you've been telling yourself. And then from here, we're going to move into warrior 2. So we went from warrior 3 to warrior 1 to now to warrior 2. I just realized my back is going to be to you. So your back foot's going to actually spin. So it's parallel to the back of your mat. Front knee is still going to be bent. And then arms come out to the side. So from the front side, it's going to look like your hips are then turned towards the side wall rather than towards the front of the room at this point, okay? And same thing though, press into that back foot as you bend into the front knee and then reach through the fingertips. Now, even though your hips are turned to the side, you can then still turn your gaze over the front fingers and find a focal point one spot that you can look at. It's known as your drishti. And then coming into nice smooth breaths. To notice what's happening in the body. Bring attention back to your roots. Shift attention to your breath. Maybe even find a little softness in the pose. So it doesn't have to feel rigid. You have a sturdy base here. But these warrior poses teach us that we can stay strong with the breath. We can stay strong with our mind and persevere because everything's impermanent. We're creating resilience. You got this. 2 more breaths. Steady breathing. I know my arms are feeling it too. My legs. Good job. And then we'll slow turn to the side of the mat and take a wide-legged forward fold. And that'll probably feel pretty good. So the thing about yoga poses are whenever we do something that's a little challenging, there's usually something afterwards that gives us a sense of reprieve. And remember, you can drop to a child's pose at any point. Anything that feels good, that's a resting pose. Good job. Releasing head and neck, maybe shaking it out. And then we're going to just turn back to the front of the mat. Mindfully step to the top. Slow rise to standing as you inhale. Arms sweep overhead. Exhale, palms to your heart. This should feel familiar. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale, swan dive to your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the crown of the head forward, flatten the back. Exhale, slow release. Root down into your feet, rise to standing, arms sweep overhead, palms touch. Exhale, hands to your heart. Now, notice how your body feels. We're going to do the other side. So just paying attention to how one side feels compared to the other. You kind of know what's ahead now, so that may be a good thing or not so good thing, depending on if you liked it or not. But just know that all of these postures are to help us. So they will open up different parts of our body. We're going to then root now into the left foot. Right foot's going to come up behind. So coming into warrior 3 or coming into the kneeling version known as bird dog. Kicking into the back heel, lengthening the crown of the head forward. Drawing your belly up and in. Having that engagement in the pose, feeling that sense of balance. And then we'll slow step back, coming to warrior 1. Again, see how my toes are not to the side. They're not pointing forward either like they would in a lunge. They're at an angle. And then I'm going to start to bring my right arm forward and up, which naturally turns my right hip. And as I press into that back foot, I'm going to bring my left knee over the ankle. So coming into that bend, arms are overhead. So inhale from your feet all the way up to the fingertips. Exhale, press down into the feet. And just notice how the pose feels on this side. So mindfulness and poses help us to know, like, do we have symmetry or does something feel different? Oftentimes, the pose will feel a little different on one side versus the other, and that's totally fine. But we notice these things, and the more we do yoga and mindful movements, the more we come back into balance and alignment. Come back to your breath. We're going to take 3 more breaths here, and then move into warrior 2. All right, so now I'm going to bring my hands to my hips before I pivot, toes to the side. I'm going to press into that back foot again, but keep this knee bent in the front. And then when I feel nice and grounded, arms start to float up. Reaching through the fingertips. Coming into my breath. Once again, thinking about what's going on in your body first. How can you make this more comfortable for yourself? Maybe it's softening the arms. Maybe it's softening the thoughts that are coming in and out of the mind. You can tell yourself you got this, or use another affirmation. Stay steady with your breath. Breathing in and out, nice and mindfully. Maybe even making the breath more audible. 3 more breaths, knowing everything's impermanent. Be stronger for persevering. Good. And then from here, we're just going to then turn the toes to the side, come into a forward fold. And you can stay standing here, or you can go ahead and come down onto your knees. And so as we come onto our knees, we're going to bring the legs out wide into a seated forward fold. So you could stay standing or come into more, your legs maybe here, whatever it is that feels comfortable for you. Hands may come to the mat. You may start to walk them forward. Coming into a little bit of stillness. And once again, tuning into where do you feel the tension? And how can you soften it? And can you stay with your breath? We're going to take 4 more breaths here. Maybe even getting a little bit deeper in the pose, but trying not to think about anything else but being here in this moment. The wonderful moments. There's really nothing to worry about when you're doing yoga, right? The present's never the problem. And we'll start to come back up and work our way onto our back. If it would feel good to you to take a heart opener here, you can bring your hands behind you and puff your chest up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, just opening the chest before we come down onto the back. And then as you work your way down, you may want to take a pillow with you to put underneath your head or underneath your knees. So there's going to be options as you lay down just to make yourself a little more comfortable as you meditate. So I'm really going to pillow there, blanket roll under my knees. That's what I think I would do. And you can work your way down onto your back. Before you completely lay down, keep the knees bent, arms out to the side, and just gently windshield wiper your legs. Knees go down to one side as your gaze rolls to the opposite. Inhale, knees come up. Exhale, knees drop as your gaze rolls. So just some gentle twists. And then when you feel ready, you'll just lengthen your legs out long. Getting comfortable. Arms can be out to the sides. You can even put the blanket or towel on top of you if you prefer. Or even on your belly, it'll give you a sense of grounding. And so as you lie here, we're going to come into just a brief meditation. I want you to think about what I like to call an inner resource. So it's a safe place for you. Maybe this is out in nature. Maybe it's at home. So if I were outside, I may think of those beautiful places that we go on FB adventures. So like beach or out into the woods or a mountain or next to a river. Maybe it's a favorite room at your home. And just start to think about what you see in this place. And then shift your awareness towards the sounds that you hear. Even what you may smell. Think about what you touch. Maybe it's the ground beneath you, knowing if that is a soft surface. How to make it more comfortable. And then feeling that sense of grounding. Just draw attention back down towards your feet. And you'll say to yourself after me, my feet are relaxed. Just same as a mantra or an affirmation, you'll say that to yourself. Then draw attention up towards your knees. My knees are relaxed. Shifting attention up towards your hips, your pelvis. My hips are relaxed. Moving up towards your torso, relaxing your abdominals and your chest, the muscles of your back, feeling your spine grounded. My torso is relaxed. Feeling your shoulders surrendering, heavy upon the ground or your mat or your bed. My shoulders are relaxed. Feeling your neck nice and long, the back of your head grounded. My neck is relaxed. My head is relaxed. Relaxing thoughts in the mind. My mind is relaxed. And then feeling that sense of surrendering your whole body. My body is relaxed. So the benefit of releasing all of the tension, bringing yourself into the state of relaxation, is that when we release the tense thoughts, we release the tense feelings in the body, we can actually talk ourselves out of feeling things like chronic pain or discomforts. Just begin to deepen your breath, allowing that current of energy to circulate back through the body, awaken you from this relaxing state. Make some movements of your fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Slowly stretching, maybe arms coming overhead, reaching your fingers down to your tiptoes. And as though you're reawakening for the rest of your evening, you'll slowly turn to one side, bending your knees, rolling up to a seated position. I always like to close our time together, bringing palms together, a way of acknowledging one another for tuning in to your body and to this community together tonight. And the light and love in me honors the same in each of you. Namaste. Take this peaceful feeling